help us reflect and meditate. So we'll do few experiments, thought experiments. And one of the things that meditation has taught me, especially Raj Yoga meditation, is the power to observe. Observe, of course, we have the power already to observe, but we usually tend to observe what's around us outside. We observe people, their mannerisms, and we observe appearances, we observe objects and weather, but the mind already has the ability to observe. Yeah. But then when we come to spirituality, the power of observance is used to observe the inner world. The inner world consists of thoughts. And the inner world is something that we are not generally used to observing. We are so all the time busy, but busy in observing outside and others. So now how do we use this tool or this power that we already have to observe in order to observe the inner self, the inner world? Yeah. So let us first understand a little bit before we go into observance of the inner world. What is it that makes us observe outside things more? Any ideas? Why do we observe outside and not inside?
I think it's a matter of when we are born initially.
You want to take?
Yeah. My personal perspective is that when we are born, and since the childhood, our parents, surrounding, whosoever is around us, has never taught us actually, and we are habitual. So we are also habitual of our surroundings, and whatever others are doing, we try to follow them to fit in the surrounding and be likable. And also, most people don't have a knowledge of it. I myself just drag into thoughts. And you mentioned a very great point about meditation. I used to meditate, breathing meditation, not specifically Raj Yoga. It's also helped me to observe my thoughts. And whenever I stop doing that, as frequently as of now, I've seen that the power of observing has become less and less. And I think if we have to be inside our mind, it's the best thing is to be here in the Raj Yoga, because the outer world always looks for the success, the points, almost all the points you mentioned, the beauty, the appearance, the status, the amount of money you carry. So I think we are in the right place, and these are some of the things that I believe are the reasons behind we just observe outside and not within. And also when things trigger us, thoughts trigger us, then we come to a point that we need to work on ourselves and put the outer world outside and see what's going within us, what's bothering us, why everything is triggering. So just my 2 cents of points. Om Shanti.
Very nice. Thank you for sharing. So let us take this example of why we observe. Yes, Varsha.
What I'm thinking is, I'm identifying with this body. This is who I am. This is what you are sitting there. So it is projecting out. And then there is the whole drama.
Yeah. Yeah. So we'll take a simple example of a cloud. Yeah. A cloud is a cloud. What is the nature of the cloud? Cloud's nature is that it will move. Yeah, it will change its form, it will change its shape, it will change its color. Sometimes the cloud is there, sometimes the cloud is not there, right? So cloud's nature is that there is change, yeah, and also we don't know how it will change, right? So it is also there is uncertainty, unpredictability, yeah. You don't know how this cloud will change, yeah. And cloud, does it remain constant? Cloud? Yes. Yeah, but change means it can still be constantly changing. Yeah. But cloud also has another property that it doesn't remain forever, does it? There is always an end to the cloud. Yeah? Cloud is formed and then either it rains or it dissolves, right? Yeah? So cloud also has an end. So there is change, there is unpredictability, and there is an end to the cloud. Now this is the nature of the cloud. Can we change this? Can it be any different? Even if, yeah? It cannot be any different. This is how the cloud is, right? This is the law, you can say, of the way the cloud operates, right? Now, yeah, one is, now if the cloud is, say, in my backyard, over the garden in my backyard, if the cloud is there, and I start to believe that this is my cloud because this cloud is in my backyard, over my garden, right? So the moment I call it my cloud, what happens? Definitely there is expectation that starts to creep in. Expectation, desire. So my cloud, now what am I expecting? That the cloud maybe stays in the place that over my garden, that it should rain only in my garden, right? Not over neighbor's garden, it should not move, right? And then if the color is gray right now, I would never want it to become pink, for example, right? So this calling it my actually ties me in a bondage. Yeah. And now, yeah, when there is this bondage, meaning we become subservient to the behavior of the cloud. Yeah. And bondage just means that whatever the cloud does, now it's going to impact me. Yeah. First of all, I start thinking about the cloud, my cloud, my cloud. It should be like this, it should be not like this, and it should, yeah, remain all of that, right? And then, so the thoughts are about the cloud and cloud all the time, right? Because this is my cloud, and I feel the moment there is a feeling of mine, I feel if the cloud goes, then there is a feeling of loss. Yeah. And then these thoughts start bombarding the mind. Yeah. And we don't know. Yeah. Why is this happening? We are not able to figure out. Yeah. So if there is mine, right? So we are taking an example of a cloud. Yeah. A cloud's nature is changing, unpredictable, and it has an end. Yeah. But that's the nature of the cloud. And moment we call the cloud as mine, there is expectation and desire, which leads us into tying a bondage. Bondage just means we are creating a dependency on the cloud. When we are creating a dependency, there is subservience. Yeah? There is also a feeling of loss that we might have. There might be fear of losing. Yeah? So, in that process, we start to generate many, many, many thoughts. But all our thoughts about related to the cloud, right? Now, these thoughts, lead to anxiety, stress, maybe feelings of jealousy and things like that if it moves to another person's garden, insecurities, right? So now these are all thoughts. They are thoughts, but then they are all about the cloud. Yeah. And we know the nature of the cloud, and we cannot we cannot really change the nature of the cloud. But the moment we call it mine, that is where we start to have many, many, many thoughts about the cloud. Yeah. So what is the way to have less thoughts about the cloud? Is there a way to lead a life where we have no thoughts about the cloud? Then what do we think about? Non-attachment. Yeah, vices. Yeah. Yes. Mm. Yeah. Yeah, so brother is sharing that these are all these kind of thoughts then ultimately bring us to vices. Yeah. So, but then the root is what we have to focus on, and the root is that we are leading a life based on something that is temporary, has an end, is changing. We are calling it mine. So it's not the best thing for us to do. Now, in spiritual wisdom, in Raja Yoga, there is an option that is given. So the cloud cannot change. That is given, right? Or we cannot change the nature of the cloud. But the way we look at the cloud, that is something, our perspective about the cloud. If we change that, then the thoughts about the cloud can be very different. Yeah. And this is where this power of being an observer comes in. Yeah. So if we are just an observer of the cloud, meaning this is not my cloud, we are just an observer of the cloud. Yeah. Then we are free. We are not forming any bondage, any dependency. We are okay if the cloud is over my garden, neighbor's garden, or it changes color, doesn't change color, if it rains on my garden or some other place, if it has an end, doesn't matter. If it changes its form, doesn't matter, right? Observer is a very, good way, a spiritual practice to see everything that is happening in this world. For now, we just took the example of a cloud, but the observer, it's good for us to know about the observer a little bit. Yeah. So spirituality tells us that this observer is not Kanupriya in my case, right? But it is the non-physical being, living conscient being, that is the observer. Yeah. The point of light. The point of light, the living conscient being, is the observer. Yeah. And this living conscient being is the one who is observing. Yeah. And in a moment, we can look at more details about what it is observing, but maybe we'll have a few minutes of reflection and meditation with this awareness of an observer, just observing the cloud. Yeah? Should we do that? So just let us sit comfortably again, choosing a good posture. Keep your feet flat on the ground. And right now, we are observing our body, observing the chair that we are sitting on, observing the room that we are in. Observing the environment. And as we are observing, everything that is outside, we have the ability to observe the thoughts within. All the thoughts currently in the mind are related to something or someone whose nature is like a cloud. Cloud is changing. Cloud is uncertain, unpredictable. And it has an end. So an observer just is an observer. Observer looks like a tiny point of light. Just watching the cloud. The cloud is right here in this moment. And the next moment it may change its location. Change its color or form, but that is the nature of the cloud. And so the observer doesn't put a tag or claim on the cloud. He doesn't call it mine. And the moment that he remains free from claiming the cloud, that is the moment that he doesn't have unnecessary thoughts about these clouds. He's completely accepting of the cloud as it is. If it moves, rains, doesn't rain, observer is just observing, watching. He's not dependent on the cloud for anything. And so he's free. Simply observing. Thank you. So was the concentration good? Better? That's good enough. Better is good enough, right? The more we do, the more we just keep getting better and better, right? So, but what any, it's good for us to know what's going on within. Yeah. Are we feeling a shift when we are an observer? Yeah. Because whatever we were thinking about, right? If we just make it as a passing thing that is transient, that is definitely going to end, doesn't it feel lighter? Yeah. It's not pulling you, even if there are thoughts about the cloud, yeah, it is not making you feel heavy and burdened, yeah, or there is no compulsion to think about the cloud, right? At least that was my experience in the meditation now. Yeah, that okay, something needs to be done, for example, or needs to be taken care of, but then it is still knowing that it is changing, it has an end, it will pass. Yeah, there is no compulsive obsession to think about it repeatedly. Yeah? And there are so many thoughts we create in a day, right? But then somebody told me 70,000 thoughts an average human being creates in a day. Average, not somebody who's overthinking. Average human being. And out of those thoughts, how many are really useful for us? Very negligible thoughts, right? So in Raj Yoga, there is an attempt for us to shift the thoughts to more useful thoughts. And those useful thoughts are actually spiritual thoughts that are useful, which help us calm down, which make us feel relaxed, which make us feel more positive, which help us slow down and be more still. They help us in making us feel more peaceful, right? So those are spiritual thoughts. Yeah? An observer is a great tool or method to experience all of those feelings. So we were talking about who this observer is, yeah, and what is he observing. So let's talk about that a little bit more. Yeah, so this observer is this tiny point of light, the living, conscient being who's non-physical in nature. And he is the one who is observing. And what is he observing? Is it just the cloud? We said we are observing so many things all the time, right? But they are outwardly things. And that is what we call in our familiar box. Yeah. There is the body, there are relationships, yeah, and nature. What else? Job, yeah, relationships, family, your your house and home, what you call, right? And what about Zoom and Instagram and Facebook and yeah, everything, social media is all here. Yeah, everything that we can think of, yeah, is part of this. And just like the cloud, everything we call this the physical world, everything in this physical world has the same nature as the cloud. Yeah. So cloud is, we said, changing and unpredictable, and there is an end. Everything in this physical world definitely has an end. Yeah, whether we like it or not. That's the law that governs the physical world, everything. Now, so when we say that observer is observing, yeah, just like we have the ability to be an observer to the cloud, similarly, this being of light has the ability to observe everything in this physical world in its true nature. And what is the advantage of us, for us, in being an observer? Do we do anything if there is no benefit? Would we do anything if there is no benefit for us? No. Yeah. So what is the benefit if we are an observer? For us?
They don't pull us, like we don't feel their power actually. We are just get sidelined in the thoughts. I think observing is the best practice through your Raj Yoga meditation. uh, Thoughts don't have a power over us. We get, like, whatever we do in our life, any act of daily activity is through thoughts, right? So if we observe something and it's beneficial, then that's fine, we can do it. But if we feel that something is anxiety provoking or the past which is over, so no benefit, right? So it saves a lot of our energy, time, and good health, I think.
Very nice. Yeah. So, observer, yeah, doesn't have to deal with that energy of thinking about it again and again in a repeated way, right? About anything here. Observer is free. Just like we said, the problem is not with the cloud, no? Right? Problem is not with the people and the house and the social media and the job, but the problem is the way we are dealing with it and the way we are looking at it. And that is what is deciding what kind of thoughts we are having about everything, right? So we have good thoughts about the cloud, right? Cloud or no cloud, we still can have good thoughts as an observer, right? The way the cloud is, and same here. If we don't call anything in this physical world as my, yeah. Does anything belong to us here? Everybody says no. It is easier said than done. We know it, yeah, but to actually live it, this is a very practical tool that we are observers. Nothing is mine. We cannot claim anything. We cannot cling on to anything or anyone. And if we do, then what is it? We are seeing that the thoughts are becoming, in the most general term, we call it negative thoughts. Yeah, obsessive thoughts. And they are very fast in speed. They are cyclical in nature, right? They keep repeating themselves over and over and over again. And so, and then we feel, how do I get rid of negative thoughts? Yeah, we want to get rid of negative thoughts, no? Yeah. So how do we get rid of negative thoughts? So what do? We try out different things. One of the things is we keep reminding ourselves. What do we remind? We say, "Oh, I am a positive being. I am everything that is happening is positive. Everything is going to be okay." I'm not believing it, but I'm just affirming to myself that no, circumstances are like this, but I am still peaceful. I am still peaceful. So is that what we are also saying? Is there any benefit in that? It hasn't worked for you. Yeah. So good for us to know that, we are, of course, we want to get rid of negative thoughts, but we also can be a little bit more careful about what we do to get rid of those negative thoughts. One can be shortcut. Okay? We all like shortcuts. Anybody? We want to reach there faster. Yeah? So, shortcut has short-term benefits. That you keep telling yourself, no, it's okay. Even if the cloud moves, it's okay, right? And all is well. But we are not still addressing the root of the problem. Yeah.
To get away from these negative thoughts, they don't even say it, repeat anything. You want to use that?
So most people to not to have negative thoughts when they feel they are having too much negative thoughts. They don't even engage into a practice of repeating something positive or good. They just get into a watching TV or drinking or going out, or they engage in any physical things.
That's a very good observation since we are talking about observer, right? So, what are we doing when we are watching TV, or, I used to call it retail therapy. Whenever I would feel a little bit low, I would just go window shopping. Yeah. And not think about whatever was making me feel low. So did that help me? It did. I have to say it did. That's why I went repeatedly every time I felt low. But then, so for the few hours that I was in the mall or wherever, yeah, mind was distracted. Now you're looking at different things, so the thoughts are about those things. But then when I come back home again, I have to deal with the thoughts that I was escaping from, avoiding, right? You're escaping and avoiding, right? So that is why we are calling it shortcut and short-term benefit. Yeah. And we don't want to get trapped into that, because that also can, just you can keep repeating that act of, say, going shopping or watching TV. But then we are not looking for long-term solution, right? And in that process, then the root cause is never addressed. Yeah, so negative thoughts keep coming, and then we go for something short-term, and then again, next time negative thoughts will come again, right? So Raj Yoga tells us that, that it is possible to have positive thoughts all the time. Yeah. Again, not because we can change anything in this world, but just by being an observer of this world. Everything in this world, including our body, our relationships, our job, yeah, the government, the social media, the comments on social media that you get, everything, nature, snow, no snow, right? Everything is changing. But it will not affect my thoughts if I am an observer. This point of light is free, right? And when we are an observer, right, only when we become free from these obsessive, negative, cyclical thoughts is when we get space to think about our original nature, original thoughts, right? Original experience. And that is what we say in the spiritual context, that we are beings of peace. We are beings of silence. And we are beings of love and joy. Yeah. So in order to feel like this very what do you say, a very good tool is this practice of being an observer. Yeah. So should we practice one more time? Yeah. Few minutes of meditation. So now let us start with being an observer. And let us remind ourselves of who this observer is. And to observe, it is good to start from a high point, like somewhere top. So as if we are in the sky. And from up above, we are observing. And the one who's observing has the image of this tiny point, a non-physical being. He is living and conscient. And he's observing the thoughts. Thoughts are about what happened today, in the past, what someone said, didn't say, should have said. What the weather was like or is going to be like. What needs to be done next? How many tick marks on the to-do list? And how will it be done? So many thoughts. But all of those thoughts are about something or someone that belongs to that physical world box. The observer is observing that the thoughts are related to the physical world. And he knows that everything in the physical world is temporary. And so he knows he doesn't own anything. That nothing is his. Not a single particle of dust belongs to him. And so the observer, this tiny point, is okay if the relationship changes, the house changes, the job maybe has an end. But in the first place, nothing was his. He's sensible to not call anything as mine. The observer has an option to make a shift in what he observes. He's used to, conditioned to observing things of the physical world, which includes the body and all the objects and people. But the observer now has another option to shift the mind and observe his true world, his reality, his own truth. And that world is subtle, invisible, non-physical, away from the physical world, far away from the physical world, is the true world. That world is a world of peace. That world where he belongs is beyond sound, away from the noise of the physical world. There is complete silence. And this silence and peace feels familiar to the observer. Because this is his true experience. His original experience is that of silence and peace. This world is a constant world, eternal world, where there is nothing that is changing. We exist as tiny points of light. This world is the most beautiful world. It is a world of light. The observer can observe with his subtle intellect this invisible world just through the mind he can observe. This constancy gives him stability in his thoughts. A world where nothing and no one ever changes. Eternal world. There is always silence in this world. It exists forever. And the experience of peace can be felt when one connects to this world. Every time one truly connects with this world, one can experience peace. Changeless world. And we just let our thoughts just hold this awareness of this changeless world. The changelessness and constancy ground us and our thoughts into reality. It gives us an ability to see the contrast, from the physical world. And the more the contrast is clear to this observer, the more easy it becomes to make a choice, to make a shift in where the mind is. What is it that he's choosing to observe? That changing, dynamic, temporary world? Or this eternal, constant, permanent world that is changeless? The more we experience this inner world of peace and silence, the more we want to be in this. And the more easier it becomes to let go of that cloud-like physical world and situations and objects and people. An observer can see clearly. Just as a third person sees the situation more clearly, the observer is able to see with clarity. Om Shanti. So the level of concentration Better? Better? Or still observing what was the level of concentration? Only we know, right? Nobody else can know. Right? So it's good to check for ourselves. And with good concentration, we can have good experience. If we are able to, really focus. And the way to bring the focus, we also know that the mind is like a monkey. It keeps switching what it wants to think about. And we have a whole plethora of things to think about all the time, isn't it? And every thought seems more important than the other one, right? It's very difficult to prioritize. There's no end to it. Yeah, it's an unending list. So, to put all of that in this box, right? And to be able to choose something that is permanent and constant. Yeah. That is the most sensible thing we can do in order to get over all the negative thoughts, the anxieties, the worries. Yeah. Even if it seems like we are experiencing silence or peace or lightness for few moments, few seconds even, it is still worth it, because otherwise what is the other life that we are leading? Not even those few minutes or moments or seconds of relief, right? So we are constantly tangled up. Yeah, so good practice, observer. Yes. Any questions or comments? Anybody has online or here?
Yeah, how do we disidentify from our thoughts? Like, I think they pull us a lot. We try to observe, and especially some things happen, we are emotionally attached, especially, then they have the more pulling power. So, any practices, or it's just the matter of prioritizing the Raj Yoga meditation and giving it the more attention, or anything else?
Just this understanding, no? That this living conscious being, right, is a point of light. He is actually separate from the body too, right? So whatever is pulling us, it is whatever thoughts are pulling, they are all part of this temporary thing. And that we are separate. This point of light, the observer is separate. Yeah, distinctly separate. And actually he's the living being. The real living being is this one. He's just using the body, entering the physical world for a short period of time also, right? So everything here is temporary, hence nothing is mine, everything is an end. But to see the separation distinctly will help us not have that pull. And of course, it takes time to internalize it, to really process it also, right? To see it like this. Because right now, when we think of myself and my problems and what happened and what not, right? We are always thinking about this. Yeah, me as Kanupriya in my case, right? Now to shift that to just being an observer of Kanupriya. The one who's observing is separate and independent of Kanupriya, is the soul, the observer, the tiny point of light, the living being. And he's the one who's changeless. Yeah. this is changing, even body is changing. Today Kanupriya there, tomorrow we don't know, right? Even after coming out of the room, you don't know, right, what is going to happen. So, but one can be free from all those thoughts if one knows his reality, that he is separate living being constantly there. Yeah. Nothing and no one can harm him. Nothing and no one. Can anything harm this invisible being? Many times we say, anytime any other thought comes, I remind myself that this invisible being, the snow cannot affect this invisible being, however low the temperature goes. Yeah, this invisible being is beyond harm, beyond effects of snow and weather and temperature, and nobody can scratch, nobody can hurt in any way. So then what are the thoughts about? The thoughts are pulling when they are compulsive, right? That's when you are free, then you will always choose to be thinking about this. So to know nothing is mine, even this role, what we say, is not mine, this body is not mine. Okay. Okay, would you like to share anything? You're focused somewhere else. Meditation? Yeah. Sometimes we become so relaxed, right, about when we are meditating, which is also good because the body is tired. Mhm. So, all right then. So we'll meet again. So next weekend we have a mini retreat here at the center on Saturday from 10 to 2. It's about experiencing meditation, experience meditation. And it will be conducted by Sister Rona, who's the center coordinator. Many of you have met her. So I think it's in person only, right? Yeah, I think it's in person 10 to 2. And also, apart from our usual, other activities which you're aware, Tuesday talks and Thursday talks, we are also starting something in Hindi language, which is the Raj Yoga meditation course that is online. It's starting on Monday, on the 2nd of March. Of course, more details are there on the website. Okay, so shall we close? I'll take a minute of observing and silence, yeah, and then close. Thank you. Have a good evening.